Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mastermind, Body, and Spirit Show. I'm your host, Matt Belair. Today's guest's purpose is to discover, improve, and teach real magic by building the best mystery school in the world. He is a channel and a magician with training in multiple traditions by masterful human, divine, and extraterrestrial teachers and lineages, including the Atlantean School of Damanhur. His experience of over 222 miracles, synchronicities, and cities of rapid healing, manifestation, materialization, telekinesis, and other phenomenon led him to write Magic is Real: How to Create Reality, Manifest Miracles, and Make Spirituality Fun Again. The system of open source magic he uses is intended to support divine embodiment and the building of temples of Thoth, Lakshmi, and Aphrodite, as well as launching the future city Atlantis Reborn in 2041. Welcome to the show, David Solomon.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, Matt. I really appreciate you reading pretty much the last chapter of my book. So that's a great introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Well, thanks for coming on. I got introduced to you from Brandon Beecham, the Positive Head. Shout out Brandon. He's awesome. And, you know, what he shared and what I just read there is extremely fascinating. Some of that I know about. I've heard different things, but my knowledge base isn't too deep on all of it. So maybe you can just start with a little background on who you are, how you got to writing that book, some of the experiences in the book, and then we'll kind of dive in from there.
Yeah, sounds great, Matt. And I love that you mentioned Brandon as well, because on the two interviews we did actually back to back, a lot of things came up in those that are coming up now in terms of remembering past lives. And so when talking about background, it's always interesting because a lot of people say, well, in this life, this happened and that happened and that happened, and I was affected in these ways. And as somebody who has recovered memories of past lives, whatever people want to look at that as, in the first chapter, I look at dimensional perspectives. So a material reductionist, the physical world is all we have, says, oh, that's a hallucination or a subconscious idea or part of your imagination. But if we feel that's part of who we are, then that's part of who we are. And if you're a being who lives and perceives on what I would call the causal karmic plane, the fifth dimensional reality, you see yourself as a soul with different lives, and you see the fourth dimensional astral energetic plane. So to answer one of your questions directly, this book really came to me during my training. There was a period from about 2015 until I think pretty much early this year, early 2018, where I had about 4 to 7 sessions a week. Some were healing, some were training. During the healing, I was very open perceptually, and I asked tons and tons of questions. And what ended up happening is I would shift into an altered state. I would kind of expand. Something would come through, and I would speak it. And as this developed, I recorded it. And once 30, 40 recordings got together, I thought, this is a bigger body of work. Professionally, the ego wanted to have a career in magic, to be able to take in the energy, which we currently call money, to pay for the expenses we need in life. So I could do this and focus on this full time, while realizing that that would require me to live at such a high level of integrity. Because people who are professional magicians or professional spiritual teachers, healers, etc., either charge for sessions or have schools or get donations or do the entertainment thing. So as these things were coming through, these transmissions, and I recorded them and then started transcribing them, I realized it would make sense both for living to a higher standard and offering something to the world, and grounding all of these higher transmissions in something that has a lot of structure and direct practical application, that the format of a book made the most sense. And over time, especially while at Damanhur, it was revealed that it would be 7 books. And there's three books worth of content written. The first is published and online. As of today, it's Kindle. Within a few days, there should be an Audible version released with a beautiful epic soundtrack and a mysterious old wizard voice made by my good friend Jack Reeder. And then the hardcover paperback are coming out pretty soon in terms of being available. At least the paperback. The hardcover will take, I think, a bit more time. So aside from that 3 years of training, it was put on by a huge Saturn return, a couple life crises, a couple near-death experiences back to back in 2014 and 15. But I've been deeply interested in, if not obsessed with magic, this whole incarnation since I was 5. And I recovered a lot of memories of past lives going all the way back, I'd say 563,000 years, the number that has felt constant, when I separated from a certain fire god, consciousness-wise. And so it's interesting, having received transmissions that are part of the book, looking at human ascension and descension. We start as the lowest level consciousness in life. We evolve. I heard recently, I haven't checked this out, that the highest level of consciousness before humans are dogs, which is interesting, especially for dog lovers. And then as humans, one map that has come through and that has been mirrored in a few things I've read is, we're at some human level of consciousness, young soul, old soul, evolved soul, ascended master, and then what's after an ascended master? There's stories of apotheosis where Thoth transcended the halls of Amenti and then became a god and then chose to reincarnate Bodhisattva style as Hermes and other incarnations. There are things by people like David Wilcox. There's a lot said about him, but some of the things he's mentioned about evolution are after an ascended master level, we get work on creating life. Certain transmissions like Lev Grossman's, which are beautiful, wrapped in some fiction, and there's a lot of direct stuff, talk about at higher levels, you create worlds. And I've had transmissions that at some points we are worlds, at some points we create multiverses, Vishnu style. And if we experience all that is to experience, first all human lives, then all fractal line representations of unity, at some point in that we are Vishnu, we are Ganesh, we are Lakshmi. And as we ascend and hit points of non-duality and unity consciousness, we can have bits of those that are embodied, or if we need, projected in the guise of that divinity. So my whole life, I've been deeply interested in magic, always reading books, a lot of fiction, a lot of nonfiction, looking for patterns, practicing stuff, astral projected and had some big rituals come in my early teens and I think at 12. And so this has just been a very magical life, only getting more so by the week.
Holy crap, man, that's a beginning. I don't even know where to start with a question with that. I think well, just for somebody who doesn't know, can you just start with like what a mystery school is? Because Egypt had a mystery school. Was it one or several? I don't know that much, but maybe you can start just on what mystery schools are and what's what's Damanhur all about.
Well, if they're mysteries, then maybe we won't know, right? How many schools Egypt had. So one definition of a mystery school is looking at mist, the veil of Maya, and the process of occlusion or hiding the occult. And I look at this as, I once heard from Dean Radin, if magic were ubiquitous, the world would last 30 minutes. Because somebody out there would throw a temper tantrum and do something that would affect everything in a way that they felt was okay, but we might not. So mystery schools generally protected and safeguard magical knowledge. And it's kind of like an adult holding the child's hand away from the stove or pulling them back from the street. Eventually the kid grows up, which is represented in us growing up psychologically, emotionally, maturity-wise. But now, especially as we're coming out of the dark ages, more of that's being revealed. And then, of course, with the internet and instant communication globally, you put out a legitimate aspect of truth with a capital T, allowing people to affect reality in all sorts of ways, like growing trees fast, as was shown in the movie Aluna by the Kobe people of Colombia, who regrew rainforest, I think it was 20 years, really fast. The government brought them in. And so you have all these magical happenings and possibilities. And in mystery schools, generally, those possibilities are taught with the foundation of what is reality, really, what is the illusion most of us live in, what are we, human, divine, ET hybrids, Anunnakis that involves, what are we? I personally believe there's different ways of viewing that. You have the Masons, you have the Greeks, mystery schools, you have Egypt, you have Damanhur. So getting right down to present day, a large embodied mystery school exists in Damanhur, along with a school of alchemy, a school of healing, community, and art, and probably a few others. I've been there, I've studied there, I've walked their labyrinths, I've been in their sacred woods, which is very rich of nourishing deep energy. I've had certain activations, a lot of powerful experiences, seen their gorgeous, gorgeous temples, and haven't seen, but have read quite a bit about their time travel work and mechanics. So there's a lot of levels, not just to Damanhur, but to mystery schools around the world. And so my intent with mine is to demystify mysticism. And the purpose of open source magic is to really get grounded and transparent.